You're gonna need to move. You're gonna have to move. I can't wait any longer to do this video. I gotta get it out right now. Ha! Okay. I got it. I gotta turn my phone off. Turn the phone off. Silence! Hey everyone, this is Seka. Welcome to the Broom Closet. If you're returning, welcome back. If this is your first time here, I welcome you very much. I hope everyone's had a wonderful week. I could not wait to do this video. I have had these notes for a long time, but I didn't know if I wanted to do a voiceover over some art or just have my face on the screen and kind of do some pop-up pictures over here. As I mentioned before, practical magic has played a huge part of my life, and if you have seen the movie or read the books, you know there are some differences. Well, this video is going to be about those differences. We are going to go through kind of chronologically from the beginning of both stories to the end, and I have it all laid out here. It's an obsession. So I would probably be looking at my notes because I was planning on doing a voiceover for this. I actually own 3 different copies of the book. The first one I think I mentioned I bought when I was younger. This is the second copy. I think I put away the first copy because it was a little torn and tattered, loved. And the third copy I put on my Kindle so I could listen to the audio. So I'm gonna read what is on the back of the book. For more than 200 years, the Owens women have been blamed for everything that has gone wrong in their Massachusetts town. Jillian and Sally have endured that fate as well. As children, the sisters were forever outsiders, taunted, talked about, pointed at. Their elderly aunts almost seemed to encourage the whispers of witchery. With their musty house and their exotic concoctions and their crowd of black cats, but all Jillian and Sally wanted was to escape. One will do so by marrying, the other by running away, but the bonds they share will bring them back, almost as if by magic. And just from reading the back of the book, you can tell that it's kind of a similar storyline. So I wrote down the root similarities that the movie and book share between each other. The Owens family dates back to Maria Owens, as does their family home. The sisters are raised by aunts who dabble in the craft. The siblings are opposites. There are rumors of witchcraft, and the 2 sisters are bullied. Sally marries Michael. They have 2 daughters. He is struck and killed by a vehicle, and there is a death watch beetle warning. Jimmy is the worst. Jimmy is killed by Belladonna. He is buried in Sally's backyard. Gary Hallett is an officer looking for him from Arizona, and the aunts help rid Jimmy's ghost. I want to tell you the timelines in both the book and the movie, and then I'm going to tell you some of my favorite highlights from the book that I feel like we missed out on while watching the movie. I think I'll start with the movie first because it's more well known. The girls live in Massachusetts. Jillian leaves, Sally marries Michael, they own a home, but in the movie the location is unknown. From the scenery, it looks to be in the same town as the aunts live. Sally and the girls move back to the aunts after Michael dies. Jillian visits Sally after Michael dies, but then returns to the south. Sally saves Jillian, and they both drive back to Massachusetts, and the remainder of the film is in Massachusetts / New England. In the book, Sally and Jillian live with the aunts in Massachusetts. So Jillian leaves, Sally marries Michael, and they stay in Massachusetts. After Michael dies, Sally takes the girls and she moves to New York. But every summer, Sally takes the girls back to visit the aunts. In the book, Jillian comes back to New York with Jimmy's dead body. And then finally, the aunts go to New York to help the girls get rid of Jimmy. I think I mentioned in the previous video about the shaping of my life through practical magic that I get different feelings between the book and the movie. The movie is very autumnal, and it's really a go-to Halloween movie. But apart from the ending scene, there's not a lot of autumn happening in the movie. I wrote down for the movie descriptors or the setting that it's typically sunny, which I know they had a hard time filming because they were filming in Washington State and it was super rainy. The aunts reference the solstice celebration. We're going to the solstice celebration. We'll take them with us. So that to me is summer solstice. So it's definitely summertime, and the girls are in dresses, sundresses, and maxi skirts. So it's a summary film. Gary mentions that it's early for roses, and then you have a time jump into fall when the girls jump off the roof with their umbrellas at the very end. In the book, it is heavily laid with references to it being summertime. So like the movie, I think since that is such a essential scene at the end when they're coming into their own, that it's fall and they're embracing their witchiness, that's what sticks with us. But for the book, it's very summertime, and I want to read you a few lines from the book. Loki, no! I think I put these in order, but the one line is, when it's this warm in June, when the sky is this inky and thick, a knock on the screen door doesn't even echo. It falls into your dreams like a stone into a stream, so that you wake suddenly, heart beating too fast, pulse going crazy, drowning inside your own panic. Another is, Sally and Jillian used to play hopscotch on hot August days when they only had each other for company. The asphalt around them was melting into black pools. This one references when the girls were young. This one's talking about Jillian, and it says, she drank bottles of Yoo-Hoo and ate goopy Hershey bars while sprawled out on the cool basement floor. And another is, Kylie goes out to buy the ingredients, and when she gets home, it's 96 in the shade. But that doesn't stop her. She's driven about this project of hers, almost as if she believes she'll be saved by this one cake. She turns the oven to 400 degrees and gets to work. So I think that's a really cool contrast about the different depictors that we are subtly introduced to in both book and movie. I'm gonna read to you a few of my favorite highlights from the book that I feel like we missed out of, and then I'm going to go basically scene by scene through the book and movie and tell you the differences between them. In the book, I like how Alice Hoffman is very herbalist and very home remedy and old wives' tale and superstition. It is full of different references to things like red pepper tea for a persnickety stomach or butterfly weed for nerves. And like, if a candle burns blue, that is something else entirely. That's no luck at all, for that means there's a spirit in your home. And if the flame should flicker, then grow stronger each time the candle is lit, the spirit is settling in. This is a good one because this is in the movie. A halo around the moon is always a sign of disruption, either a change in the weather, a fever to come, or a streak of bad fortune that won't go away. But when it's a double ring, all tangled and snarled, like an agitated rainbow or a love affair gone wrong, anything can happen. I have a few more, but I'm gonna skip it because this video would get very long. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. I think I'll have to do it this way. So I guess down the middle you could title it Which Bloodline? In the very beginning, it opens in the movie to Aunt Frances telling the girls about their ancestor Maria, and the scene is Maria jumping from the gallows and the rope breaking and her life is saved. In the movie, she's put on the gallows, and when her rope breaks, she is banished to the island. And she is pregnant at the time. In the book, Maria's story is expanded a little, but she already has the baby. It tells you how the house was built, how many carpenters she used, the different woods that she used in the home. It talks about her status in the town and how her reputation as a witch kind of got started, but that she was never put on trial and hung. In the movie, the father of Jillian and Sally's death is really unknown. You see the scene when they're on the beach and the beetle is ticking and their mother hears it, and then the girls ask, did mommy die of a broken heart? Their answer yes, but in the book it is said that the girls' parents were on like a second honeymoon and their house caught fire after being hit by lightning, and I think the passage is something like they were so in love that they didn't even smell the smoke. Movie Sally has dark hair and movie Jillian has red hair. Book Sally has raven hair and book Jillian has blonde hair, which she eventually cuts off and sells to a woman. So Jillian sells her beautiful blonde long hair and cuts it as short as a boy's, is what the quote is. Another similarity down the middle is they are both outcasts. In the book, it shows, or excuse me, in the movie, it shows the children throwing stones and taunting the girls, which witch you're a bitch, or which witch you're a witch. It's hard to tell. Some subtitles say something different, and the girls ask, why do they hate us so much? In the movie, there are detailed accounts about the torments the other children do to the girls. Like, is a scene in the beginning where Sally is younger and the beloved black cat Magpie follows her to school, and one of the boys had brought a book of matches and lights the cat's tail on fire, and Sally puts it out. The movie, there's a client that comes to the aunt's house and she says, I want him to want me so much that he can't stand it. And Aunt Jet says, be careful what you wish for. In the book, there is a client that comes to the house and they do the same kind of routine. However, you hear what the spell does, and it makes this man so in love with her, he won't leave her alone. He always wants to be around her. She can't go to the bathroom without him being there. He always wants to have sex with her. So she goes back to the aunt's house furious and has an argument with Sally and Julian, who are outside, and eventually hits Sally because she's so mad. And it says that the aunts had placed a curse on her, making her mute. So even if she did want to tell this guy to go away, she couldn't. It could possibly be the same outcome in the movie. If you notice, that client shows back up at the house when the girls rally together and they need the coven, and that woman is there. In the movie, the aunts put a spell on Sally and Michael to make them fall in love. I don't think this happens in the book. It says how they meet. They meet outside of a hardware store where he works. So he works at a hardware store in the book, but in the movie he is a produce man. The book details that the aunts grow fond of Michael and have him around the house. We don't see that in the movie. Obviously, time constraints had something to do with that. In the movie, he is struck by like a delivery truck and you see the apples spilling everywhere. In the movie, he steps off a curb and a car of underage drivers, I think drunk drivers it says, hits him and kills him. Sally never asks the aunts to bring him back in the book. She just mourns him. That brings me to my next one, the mourning of Michael. When Sally mourns Michael, it prompts Jillian in the movie to come back and console her a little bit for some sister time. In the book, Sally doesn't speak for a year. She closes herself up in her room, doesn't really eat. It states that her hair is all tangled and ratty, and then there's a situation that happens with a swan and the little girls. So as Sally is mourning for Michael, she moves back in with the aunts in the movie. In the book, Sally takes the girls and kind of like flees to New York to have her own life. She wants it to be normal. Michael and Sally have 2 daughters. In both book and movie, their names are Kylie and Antonia. However, in the book, the names are switched. Antonia is the older one in the book. Kylie is the younger one, and they don't get along at all. The older one, Antonia, is a diva, and she's very mean and bitter and spiteful. In the movie, the daughters, Antonia and Kylie, are grade school age, and it seems like in the book they're more high school age because there's a whole scene of the younger one, Kylie, turning 13. In Practical Magic the movie, Sally owns a bath and body shop called Verbena. In the book, she is a secretary or vice principal? I think she's the secretary of the school that the girls go to. Which brings us to the first additional character. His name is Ben Fry, and he is the bio teacher at the girls' school. And he's also a part-time magician with a rabbit. Similarity of the overdose of belladonna. In the movie, Sally finds Jillian a little battered and bruised. They're both kidnapped by Jimmy, and Sally dumps a ton of belladonna into his drink, which sends him into some kind of cardiac arrest. Afterward, they try the resurrection spell, and Jimmy is killed a second time when Sally hits him over the head with the fry pan. In the book, I read a passage earlier that was talking about on nights such as this, you can't hear a knock on the door. And that is the night that Jillian shows back up with dead Jimmy in her car. Hi, buddy. Because she thinks she's given him too much belladonna. So he is sleeping when she shows up to Sally's house in New York. There's a similarity of him being buried in the garden. There are toads that are present, and the tips of his boots eventually show, I believe, in both. In the movie, there are roses that grow overnight, but in the book, they're lilacs. The lilac bushes start blooming like crazy, and they're blooming at a season, and people are coming like from all over to see these magical lilacs. There's no midnight margaritas in the book. However, Jillian develops a really sweet relationship with Kylie, the younger of the 2 daughters. I'm losing my light again, which leads us to the second additional character. His name is Gideon, and he is Kylie's best friend. He's kind of like a punk, like outcast, kind of combat boot In the book, Jillian ends up falling for Ben Fry. Similarity is that Gary Hallett is looking for Jimmy. In the movie, he's wanted for homicide of a couple women. In the book, he's wanted for selling Jimson weed to a couple college kids who turned up dead. Similarity of Jimmy's presence. In the movie, older Kylie can see Jimmy's like aura in the garden under the roses. In the book, likewise, Kylie, the younger, can see Jimmy's aura underneath the lilacs, and she does not like him. But also things start disappearing, like Jillian loses her boots and Sally loses a frame. So things start to disappear and they don't know why. And like a big thing that goes missing is their car. So Jillian walks to work and it's parked there, but she had driven it home the night before, which is a little weird. Oh, in the book, Jillian has a job at a hamburger shack. I have written Jillian gets possessed in the movie. In the book, things are misplaced on their own and shit gets paranormal. I have as a similarity a giant cauldron getting dumped on Jimmy's grave to get rid of him. So the aunts in the book have come to help, and the aunts in the movie are like, it's time to rally the troops, get the cauldron on the stove, we're doing this. So in the movie, the cauldron comes together, and ultimately the sisters do their blood oath, and their love breaks the curse. In the book, the aunts come and they just do their thing, and then they dump it on the lilac stumps to get rid of him. I may backtrack a little bit. In the movie, Sally cuts down all the roses, as well as in the book, she cuts down all the lilacs. In the book, Sally and Gary Hallett get together, and I think they left out Jillian getting together with anybody because that would have been just way too Hollywood. But in the book, she ends up with Ben Fry. Even the last words are a little different. In the movie, it's always throw spilt salt over your left shoulder, keep rosemary by your garden gate, plant lavender for luck, and fall in love whenever you can. In the book, it is always throw spilled salt over your left shoulder, keep rosemary by your garden gate, add pepper to your mashed potatoes, plant roses and lavender for luck, and fall in love whenever you can. So these are my 2 pages of differences that I logged. If you can think of any, please let me know. I know there are a ton more. I could just go through everything from the book and say this is what was left out. But one thing I do want to address that I kind of really wish that they added to the movie was more of Kylie the Younger's story, who's friends with Gideon. And I have written down her relationship is so much different with her sister. And it shows, you know, I pride myself on having this great relationship with my Sally. But some sisters aren't like that, and they definitely weren't like that. I wanted to see her like friendship with Gideon because I, growing up, had a ton of guy friends, and they talk about boys being in the friend zone, but I think there's something really special about a male-female friendship. And I still have them to today. I think it's really special to show girls that guys and girls can be friends and not always lovers. There's a sequence in the book for Kylie of her coming of age. Literally, she turns 13 and Jillian convinces her to cut off her mousy brown hair and dye it blonde. So they're in the bathroom at the hamburger shack that Jillian works at, and they're cutting and dyeing little Kylie's hair. And after that, she starts being able to see the auras, not because of the haircut, but because of her age status now. She also ends up having a fight about this with her friend Gideon, and they don't talk for a while. Along with seeing the auras, it kind of makes her more of an empath. You get to experience her reconciliation with Gideon, and to get to that was her cake making. That quote I took out of the book earlier. Wow, that light is terrible. The quote I took out of the book earlier about her wanting to make a cake, she wanted to make this cake and bring it to Gideon as an apology. And on her way to bring this cake to Gideon, she is walking down the turnpike and she passes like a bar or something, and these 2 guys start hassling her and end up chasing her through like the football field. And basically she's almost raped. She gets away from them because she's so tall and lanky, and she's very, very fast. And it's because of this happening. She's a little muddy and a little scratched up from trying to get away, and she runs to her sister who is at work, and it really changes the relationship between her and her sister, and no longer is older Antonia such a B word to little Kylie. I hope that wrapped it up nicely enough for everyone. I was very excited to make this video. I'm sure I could have taken a little more time to do some interesting segues, but I really just read what I logged, all my notes that I took down, because I find it really interesting how Griffin Dunn changed the storyline and made it very relatable. And I love the movie, I love the book. I know some people lean more one way than the other, but it's almost summertime, so I'm gonna put my nose back in that book. Everyone, thank you so much. If you haven't given it a chance already, please give it a shot. Have a blessed day. Talk to you soon.